Hey peeps. So I just want to make this video to kind of give an update on the build. So I was able to successfully create it, and I'm currently level 73 with the build. And overall, I gotta say it's pretty fun and it works pretty well, like I expected. The only issue that I'm finding, a couple of problems that I'm seeing, and a couple of changes that I made. I guess I'll go over them. So the original skill tree is pretty much the same that I showed in my first video. I ended up not deviating very much from that. One thing that did change was the ascendancies. So initially I was going to get Essence Glutton and, Mistress of Sacrifice plus Plague Bringer and Corpse Pact. Upon thinking about it a little more, I decided to opt out of Mistress of Sacrifice just because the whole casting and running around seemed a little bit clunky, in my opinion, with Righteous Fire. Not to mention the fact that the build I've come to find is really, really slot starved when it comes to gems. Like, you do not have enough gem slots to go around, and that's something that I'll get into a little later. So, due to the lack of available slots to put gems in, I ended up going with mindless aggression in order to reach Bone Barrier. So Bone Barrier is pretty nice just because I found that when I first tried to make the switch to Righteous Fire in maps, I was dying quite a bit, and I actually didn't die I didn't die at all during the time that I was leveling up until I got to maps and I finally made the switch to Righteous Fire. I leveled up using VD, and everything was very smooth. But the thing that I found with Righteous Fire is that when you need to get close in order to kill the monsters, and by doing that, you kind of make yourself susceptible to getting one shot by some of these stronger monsters. Considering that with a skill like Volatile Dead, I was probably just like running around casting Desecrate and spamming, VD and just kiting the monsters around, which was working fine. So having died quite a bit. I mean, in my opinion, like, two times in maps, which I think is a lot. I ended up trying to make a switch. I was like, okay, you know what? I need to get a little bit more tanky. So what is something that does that? And I found this ascendancy point really appealing, which was 10% damage reduction and the bone armor skill. Not to mention, the increased resistances and the increased life recovery is a nice add-on. So my last point at that point, and I'm probably going to go with Plague Bringer just because I want the increased area of effect. So I was able to get this nice Spectre helmet for 1C on POE trade, so that's pretty nice about the Spectres. However, I'm not finding that the Spectres are doing as much as I'd hoped. I mean, they definitely do provide quite a bit of single target damage. In fact, a large chunk of the single target comes from the Tukahama's Vanguard. So I'm actually thinking about, but the Wicker Man I'm finding doesn't really help very much with the clear speed, I think. So I might end up cutting out the Wicker Man and just going with 3 Tukahama Vanguards, or maybe even 3 Fire Eating Cannibals, depending on which one I feel provides better DPS. And the boots have been pretty good as far as triggering the ignites with the Razor of the Seventh Sun. So I went over this in the first video, but the whole idea is that Death Walk with increased AoE and ignite proliferation, you basically trigger off a bunch of ignites, and when you trigger off these ignites and they proliferate, you recover a bunch of life from Razor of the Seventh Sun, and it also increases your burning damage. So my colors are not quite there yet, but I was thinking of hopefully I can get this to blue so I can slot in combustion so that stuff that gets ignited by Deathwalk also loses about 19 fire res, which will definitely help with the single target. The idea is even on bosses, I cast Desecrate and I shield charge over the corpses to ignite the boss and reduce their fire resistance. So one of the problems I'm having right now with the build is figuring out where to fit in more skill gems. So I'm probably gonna In fact, I'm just going to remove this right now. Immortal Call and Stone Golem. Yeah, I was trying to run Immortal Call, cast 1 damage taken. Completely unnecessary at this point. Shield Charge, faster attacks. Maybe I can cut out faster attacks, but it feels pretty nice right now. Uh, the idea is that I need somewhere to slot in like Orb of Storms with increased crit strikes so that I can reliably trigger off Elemental Overload with also Elemental Equilibrium. So one thing that I've noticed is that because this converts 25% of my physical damage to fire damage, I can also trigger off EE with the shield charge, but I think with Orb of Storms, it won't really matter because of how frequently it's going to be proccing. So maybe for like a fraction of a second, the EE will proc with the fire damage, but then it'll go back to the minus fire damage once the Orb of Storms goes in. So somewhere along this line, I'm gonna have to figure out where I can fit 2 more gem slots in. So I also added in zombies, and the zombies have been pretty darn good so far. In fact, they're so tanky that I might not even need the minion life. I might just cut out the minion life and keep in meat shield. Hold on, let me put on D&D. The meat shield with the feeding frenzy. Now, feeding frenzy is really, really nice, as is meat shield. I like the fact that the zombies are able to taunt, which makes it really, really convenient. Anyway, that's enough talk for now. Let's just see how the build functions. So you're gonna see that the regen itself, I actually don't even need the ruby flask anymore at this point. I was just kind of using the ruby flask to just during my testing phase, and I just kind of need the life and mana flask mostly for the sake of you know, in case I take some big hits. But actually, bone armor makes it really, really convenient to just I pretty much never have to like worry about dying at all. But overall, the original build idea with using Infernal Legion, it's not working out quite the way I'd hoped, because based on my mathematics, it's going to take quite a bit of work to get the resistances for the minions up to the level that it needs to get to. But as you can see, you know, when I get close to group, I can just kind of proc off my bone armor and just sort of charge in without having to worry about anything. And you also notice that my regen is pretty good so far. Like I don't even need a pot as long as I'm near corpses and triggering off ignites. So the ignites that I trigger off from the boots, they end up recovering a ton of life from the Razor of the Seventh Sun, and then on top of that, Essence Glutton just makes it so that I never have to worry about mana either, and the bone armor just makes me super tanky. So yeah, overall it's a pretty fun build, but like I mentioned, the real issues that I'm seeing are mainly the slots. So I'll have to probably go back to POE and figure out some do a little bit of finagling. So as you can see, I'm not close to any corpses, but when I step over these corpses here, I just end up like recovering pretty much all my mana. Just like stepping over a corpse, you just regenerate a ton of mana, which helps a lot with the degen from Righteous Fire. So I think it's a really good combination, and at least that part of that, what inspired me to go that route with the build is working pretty well. Oh god. Okay, so yeah, that's one thing that you should be noted of. Like I said, the build right now, it's not completed. I'm barely like level 73, going on 74, but let's see here. I guess I'll do the quest. Sure. And I'm really sorry for the the video quality. Obviously, I could probably do some editing and make it nice and good for you guys, but this is just a build diary, and I don't really expect too many people to pay attention to this. But hey, anyway, if somebody does end up having a similar idea, and you end up making it work better than I did, then please, man, post it. Because I like the build a lot, and I like the premise of it. I would like to somehow make it work for next league, because this league I don't have much time, but maybe next league, you know, I can. Whoa, the heck was that? Yep. Oh, what the heck? How did? Damn it. Yeah. Anyway, I think the big change so far, though, like I said with the build, that I really diverged from once I started building out was including the zombies. That was definitely something that I really like, just because it makes it a lot easier to tank, um, because they do taunt the slam taunts as well, which is awesome, honestly. And I'm thinking about slotting in the zombie jewel that basically reduces their slam cooldown, and we'll see how that goes. I'm just gonna do a little bit of playtesting with that, and probably cut out the Wicker Man entirely, because as you can see, it's not really doing very much, I think, in terms of the like the clear speak, since I'm leading the way most of the time. And you'll also notice that I am not running Convocation at the moment, because I still haven't figured out, like I said, how I'm going to fit in Convocation, besides like putting in an unset ring or something. I'm not that interested in doing that. But yeah, as you can see, the damage is pretty good at least. And yeah, the budget's like, I would say it's a pretty good budget, because let's see here. Let's take a step out of the map really quick. Yeah, I'm running on a 4-link right now, which is Arcane Surge, Righteous Fire, Swift Affliction, Elemental Focus, and the Spectres, well, they're on a 6-link, 7-link actually. But overall, yeah, I think the build's pretty fun. I'm gonna keep playing it till the end of the league, hopefully. As long as I have time, I'll just keep trying to improve it, and I'll hopefully have another update soon. With my Uber Lab done the next time I do my update, and ideally I'll be somewhere in like the 80s-ish, maybe 90s even. We'll see how it goes. Alrighty then, that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys later.